So I played Clash last night with my team, and we ended up going 2-1, getting second place. We played really well in the first two games. We ended up losing a really tight competitive game in the last one. My first two drafts were really solid. My last draft was really pretty bad, and I tunnel visioned really hard. So we're gonna go over all three of the drafts right here. First two I won. Second one, or third one rather, I got absolutely dumpstered. Let's take a look. So this was the game one draft. We were on red side. Enemy team first picks Braum, which is just completely out of the ordinary. Braum is not a niche pick, but he's good into champs that have to run into him, so he's really easy to pick around. What we do is go in 1-2 Ashe Janna. This is kind of the strategy that I've been implying or imploring you guys to use is counter what enemy just picked and pick the next strongest. In my opinion, Ashe is still the strongest ADC in the game, even though she's completely fallen out of the meta for some reason. It's very tragic, but I still think this champ is super, super good. And then Janet is also good into Braum. You can really pick anything into Braum. I just kind of assumed that they're going to be picking some short range divey stuff to pair with it rather. So I figured Janna would end up being a good pick, and really anything ranged does well into a Braum lane. So they go in 2-3 Aphelios Victor. So what does this mean? This means that they are good against champions that have to run into them. Aphelios is one of the best stand your ground ADCs in the game, and Victor as well, with his gravity well and his ult, does really well into not dive, but kind of short range skirmishy type comps. So we go ahead and counter mid with Syndra, kind of just like a trade of mages. Syndra has good range, good burst as well, and she can play into the Victor pretty well, especially as an immobile champion as Victor is. She's pretty easy to set up ganks with as well. And then we go ahead and R4 after second ban phase. We R4 Pantheon. He was still open. Best AD jungler available in my opinion. Super, super strong champion. Even though he is trying to run into the Victor Aphelios, I feel like we have good enough setup with Ashe arrows, with Syndra stuns, and obviously Janna Peel as well. I think it's really easy for Panth to play the game. Also, he's just kind of a broken champion, so why not pick him, right? If, Xin is out and Viego's out, Panth is like right up there with the top 80 junglers in the game. So really strong pick there. Also a really strong blind pick jungle because he doesn't really have many, if not any, losing matchups. Enemy team rounds out on blue side with Nocturne Shen. They try to do a little bit of an ult combo here with Shen ulting on the Nocturne as he's diving in with his ult. The problem with this is that they've completely split themes now. They have Aphelios and Victor who want to play stand your ground and are good against champs that come into them. And then Nocturne and Shen are obviously diving together on backline. So they're completely split, and this is going to make it really hard for them to play fights. Also, we have Janna, which is really, really good into dive. So essentially, like some of my teammates were saying, oh, we don't have really any peel. We feels like we're just gonna get one shot by their dive. No, that's not the case. Janna completely negates the dive. Tornado, ult peel is really, really strong. Janna did end up being a really high value pick this game. Unfortunate that no one actually picks her in competitive, but Janna's a really good champion for those of you looking for, off meta picks, so to speak. And then for R5, we go and counter with Malphite. What I told my top laner is we need tank, we need CC. So I gave him the options of Sion and Malphite. I guess we also could have thrown Zac in there. I don't think Udyr's very good here because Udyr's a pure auto attacker pretty much into Shen, which is not going to go very well. Malphite also loses into Shen, but it's a little more graceful and it's Malphite, so he's always going to be useful no matter what. But in the end, we just needed frontline and we needed CC. Malphite provided both those. Even though, yes, we're going to be ulting into Aphelios Victor, I still think it's perfectly fine because we have plenty of long-range follow-up with the Ashe and the Syndra. So overall, I think this was definitely a winning draft. Most of all because they split themes, and most of all because we completely negate their dive with Nocturne Shen. They can't really do anything, and it's just really hard for them to play the game into our champions. So pretty secure draft win in game one. We did end up winning the game pretty convincingly in around 30 minutes. Let's go and check out the game two draft. All right, so here we are on the game two draft. Again, we are on the red side, so it's going to actually look like a pretty similar draft here. They go ahead and B1 Sivir, which is kind of weird because, again, similar to last game's B1, it's really easy, like Braum, it's really easy to draft around. So what is Sivir? She's really short range, and she kind of has to run forward to hit things. So what do you want to do? You just want to outrange her pretty much. So we go ahead and take Jinx, which is always going to match her scaling, and outrange the Sivir. So really easy for Jinx to play the game already. And then we go ahead and take Pantheon as well, just because it did really well in the first game, and it just felt really OP to me. Yes, I did end up playing 3 games of Jungle Pantheon in Clash. Don't at me. it felt like a strong pick. Yes, I was bored of it, but it happened. Anyways, enemy team second rotates Xin and Yuumi. So Yuumi is obviously just a pairing to hyperscale with the Sivir. The problem is that Xin doesn't hyperscale with that. Even though, yes, he's the power pick in the meta, he doesn't necessarily match themes here. Something like Ivern would have been much better. The thing I was saying about their draft at the end of the game, if they had just picked Ivern or just any second enchanter and then a tank, they would have been in a really good spot. But they didn't end up doing that. So Xin just kind of feels lost in a lot of comps. Even though, yes, he's a strong meta pick, he doesn't really fit. He's kind of just a random champion who's strong in the current meta. This is kind of what I've been preaching for the last month or so about how teams just pick the same crap on repeat with, no exceptions really. So we go in R3 Lulu here. So our goal basically is to just match scaling here, and we can't pick something like a Blitzcrank. We can't pick a Nautilus into Sivir. That's just going to be a nightmare, completely unplayable. We can't play Sivir and Poppy into Sivir rather. So we basically just had to match ranged Enchanter and match scaling with the Jinx Lulu lane. And then I think pretty much in most, if not all circumstances, Panth pretty much just always outscales Xin Zhao, especially since Xin isn't going to be having the Enchanter on him. With Yuumi is pretty much always going to be on the Sivir, right? Whereas Lulu can kind of heal and shield as she sees fit throughout the fight. She's not really attached to the Jinx as Yuumi's attached to the Sivir. So I think through first phase we're already winning because we have range advantage and technical scaling advantage. We go into R4 Annie. We just needed a blind pick mid here that again had decent range and had decent CC and gank setup. The one risky thing about picking enchanters in support role is that you do lack CC, but Annie kind of makes up for that a little bit with her stun, which is really nice. It actually did end up being really useful, and also her mid gank setup in combination with Pantheon is really, really good. So enemy team has a really weird round out with Aatrox and Vladimir. They try to counter the Annie with Vlad, which I don't really see as a counter at all. I don't really see how that's a winning matchup, and they blind Aatrox. Yes, we R5 with GP. I gave my top laner some options. He was comfy on GP. He chose the GP. I did also suggest to him Malphite again. It looks like a nasty Malphite game, honestly. He did kind of regret picking the GP. He had a rough time in lane, but we did end up winning the game. I think overall we had the scaling advantage. I think the Vlad pick and the Aatrox pick just kind of threw him off. If they had a tank top lane and then another enchanter for the Sivir, scaling up with her, I think they would have had a much better time. But because of their last two picks, it just felt really random. Like, look at their comp. They have really hyper scaling with their bot lane, and then Xin, Aatrox are just kind of random skirmish fighters. Same thing with Vlad. Even though Vlad scales well, it just seems kind of random. Whereas we have a clear goal on our team. It's scale and it's team fight. Everyone kind of has a similar goal inside of the game. So it made it really easy, not really easy, but easier for us to play. And our comp ended up being much better inside of the game. Let's take a look at the game 3 draft. Alright, so here is the Game 3 draft. This is the one that I, admittedly so, got turbo draft capped in. I super tunnel visioned in this draft. So let me explain what we did here. We're on blue side this time. We first picked Pantheon, which I was just kind of high on the champion after 2 wins on him. He felt really strong, and it felt like he didn't really have a counter pick available, so I just first picked it. In hindsight, I probably should have just gone back to first picking Ashe, which always works as a good standby, but we ended up going first pick Pantheon here. And they immediately answer with Vi Azir. So the first thing that struck me here is, okay, Vi has to go in. That's her theme, right? Her R has to go in. She can't do anything else. So the rest of my draft was really focused on trying to negate Vi's value and make her useless, which the Xayah Rakan kind of tells. Xayah is really, really good into Vi and kind of makes her unable to play the game. And it worked. Vi ulted me on the Pantheon most of the game, and the Vi didn't really end up having a lot of value. But you can see with the rest of their draft on red side is that after they picked the Vi and they saw that we were countering their dive, they just completely pivoted themes and they go with complete outrange and good against dive with Azir, Milio, Kog'Maw. Those 3 picks utterly ruined us this game, and it's completely my fault because I tunneled so hard on trying to make Vi useless. Early picking Xayah is illegal. You cannot do it. I completely learned that in this draft. Early picking Xayah before you see enemy bot lane matchup is impossible. You can't do it. Even though the Xayah had decent value in the game, she just couldn't hit anything. She's so short ranged into Azir, Milio, Kog. It's literally unplayable for the Xayah. Even though countering the Vi technically worked, the rest of their comp was just built around outrange. and there's not really much we could do about it. Milio is also very good into Rakan. Milio is also very good into Pantheon. And then they also countered our blind pick Jace with Malphite, which is good on them. That's a typical counter pick. We just needed a top lane blind that kind of worked. And in hindsight, it should have just been a tank. It should have just been Ornn. So that's my bad as well. Um, and the more I think about it, I was actually going over this draft in my head for a while after Clash last night, is that the more I think about it, Azir is just an insanely good champ. This champ to me seems like he has no real big weakness. And whenever I'm playing against him, he just feels really difficult to play against because he has really long range, he has really good scaling, and he's good against champs that come into him. So he's very versatile in what he does, and he doesn't really have a clear weakness. Like I said, he's good against champs that come into him. So he's good against Rakan, he's good against Pantheon, and he outranges the Xayah. So there's not really a whole lot we can do in this game. Like, they have such long range and such good scaling. Even though our scaling isn't bad itself, I tunneled so hard on trying to make this Vi useless that they just easily pivoted themes and completely outranged us. Even though it was a really close competitive game, it was like 40, 45 minutes, we ended up losing, and it was just a complete range gap. You know, we tried different things in team fights as blue side here. We tried going in first with Rakan and diving onto their backline. That doesn't work because they had just Azir ult away and Milio ult, and they're completely fine, and they start hitting. We tried letting them engage first with the Vi, and they're just purely outranging us, so that doesn't work either. And the fights just really felt impossible to play honestly, because of the early Xayah pick. That was really the doom of the draft. In hindsight, I should have just first picked Ashe and went from there, but I tunneled so hard on trying to make the Vi useless that I just got outdrafted in that sense from that point on. So the first two games were great. We played really well as a team, solid drafts. The last game was just really hasty on that Xayah pick and really hasty on trying to make Vi useless that I tunneled really hard and ended up getting outdrafted in that last game. Kudos to the other team though. They drafted well. That was a solid pivot from them. So good job there. Thanks for watching. See you next time.